Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live on vacation? With all the amazing homes and activities here in Northeast Florida, it can seem like you're doing just that. We're Brady and Alyssa Hammond, and we invite you to join us as we dive into the premier communities, properties, and attractions that make Northeast Florida such a desired destination. Coming up on Property Tours, Alyssa and I are going to experience two of Saint Augustine's most popular attractions, the museums at Old Town and historic St. George Street. We'll then head to the south side of downtown to discover what it's like to live on vacation at this charming late 1800s Victorian home, one of the first homes ever built along this side of St. George Street. Located along the Matanzas Bay about 40 miles to the southeast of Jacksonville, Saint Augustine was founded by the Spanish in 1565 and remains the oldest continuously occupied settlement in the United States. The Spanish architecture, beautiful views of the bay, and iconic historical attractions make downtown Saint Augustine one of our country's top vacation destinations, attracting millions of visitors every year. Before we started our adventure, we had the opportunity to meet with the general manager of Old Town Trolley Tours and Attractions and local St. Augustine expert, Dave Chatterton. Dave, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
What does your company do and what attractions do you guys oversee?
I work for a company called Historic Tours of America, and our mission statement is to be the nation's storyteller. And we operate tours and attractions all over the country. Now here in St. Augustine, we also operate some really great attractions like the Old Jail, the Oldest Store Museum Experience, Potter's Wax Museum, the St. Augustine History Museum, and of course, everybody knows the Old Town Trolley.
That's quite a menu of attractions right there.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us about the trolleys.
We have 22 stops where the guests can get off the trolley, grab a bite to eat, sightsee, shop, and then they can come right back to the stop and get back on the trolley, and the tour picks up right where it left off. You get a great tour by one of our expert licensed tour conductors, and they deliver that history in a very fun and educational manner.
Speaking of history, I'm very curious to know more about this jail that sits behind us.
This is the old St. Johns County Jail, and every 15 to 20 minutes, one of our prisoner trustees welcome this new group of prisoners. And it's our history teller's job to settle in these new prisoners, show them where they'll be staying, where they'll be eating, what they'll be doing. So again, we do it in a very entertaining and fun way.
I'll tell you, this one right here, I know what you did. I think we
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Call the sheriff, call the sheriff.
Right. I'll be right back.
So tell us about Nights of Lights.
Look, St. Augustine is beautiful at night anyway. And then this time every year during Nights of Lights, the city decorates, its historic buildings with over 3 million lights. And then what you end up with is this amazing winter wonderland. And it's really become one of the most popular holiday Christmas lighting displays in the world.
Dave, we really do appreciate you coming on, and we are excited to experience some of the attractions your company does.
Appreciate you having me on today.
Our first attraction we ventured to was the Oldest Store Museum, which is a recreation of St. Augustine's original general store from 1908. At this attraction, a clerk leads you on a tour of the store, demonstrating all the turn-of-the-century goods and luxuries available to folks back in the early 1900s.
We stock only the greatest of goods, available at only the lowest of prices.
Okay, we're about to do the Oldest Store Museum tour. We got our friend Virgil over here. He's going to be showing us all the old store items that he can.
That's right. Established 1875, this is C.F. Hamlin's hardware and general merchandise store.
Virgil proceeded to show us the full stock of items available at the store, ranging from an old-fashioned coffee grinder to a trendy corn shucker.
Now that's what I call a luxury.
You're telling me. some pretty shocking medicines
So every type of medicine worth its salt has laxatives in it.
to the latest shoe fashions. Would you wear those?
If I wanted to break my ankle.
To perilous bicycles, and even a goat-powered washing machine. They can also fulfill all of your cannon firing and bear trapping needs, which I know is something you're always about.
That's true.
Well, did you enjoy the old general store?
Yeah, Virgil was hilarious for sure.
Virgil's pretty funny. I gotta tell you, life was a little bit tougher back in 1908.
Yeah.
Maybe a little tougher than us.
Definitely. I don't think I would have lived, especially with all those medicines.
Our next attraction on the itinerary is the Old City Jail Museum.
So I'm gonna be the only one going to jail. Virgil turned Alyssa in. Her ankles were showing, and apparently in 1908, women could not have their ankles showing for any reason. So Virgil had her arrested, so we might see her in the jail. One of the cells will say hi to her, but she can't go on the tour with us. Convicted felons, not so much. So if you're wondering where Alyssa is, she's under arrest for too much ankle showing.
Listed on the National Registry of Historic Places, the old jail has been renovated to show visitors what it was like to be a prisoner back in the 19th and early 20th centuries. A current prisoner books you in and takes you through the jail.
My name's Johnny Possum. I'll be the one processing you through the jail today. How oh so unlucky you are.
All the while telling the tales of its occupants, along with the different weapons and artifacts that accompanied the facility. I must say, I would highly advise not being a criminal back in 1908. Life would not have turned out well for you, so make sure you got those ankles covered.
Okay, I've got my prisoner out of jail here. I say, jail in 1908 sound miserable. How did you survive? Ooh, yuck. You had to be tough to live in 1908, especially if you were a prisoner. I would not be committing any crimes, not that I commit them now, but especially not in 1908.
After breaking Alyssa out of jail, we fled the scene, hopped on one of the trolleys, and then headed to historic St. George Street, where the entertainment manager for Old Town Trolley Tours and Attractions, Heather Quinn, was there to greet us.
We are back here with Heather, who has graciously agreed to join us here in front of the city gates of historic St. George Street. Alyssa and I are about to go party up here on St. George Street. Before we do so, though, Heather, tell us a little bit about the history of St. George
Yes,
Street.
thank you for having me. St. George Street really is so iconic here in Saint Augustine. Our pedestrians go on this street really to find all sorts of attractions, food, art, live music, and really where people start their experience in Saint Augustine is right here where we are right now.
So what kind of activities will people experience when they head in?
The oldest wooden schoolhouse, spirits, some tastings, if you know what I mean. We have the peanut peck house as well. There's just so many things for guests, for tourists to do here.
Yeah, I hear there's some pirate activities too. I'm thinking of pirates.
Yes, also, yes, definitely. We love pirates here. We have the Saint Augustine Pirate and Treasure Museum. We have the Colonial Quarter, which takes everyone back in time, like living history of what it was like back then.
What are some of the top restaurants and what would you recommend Alyssa and I check out?
Oh my gosh, you're putting me on the spot right now because there are so many good places to eat and dine. But I would say a couple of my favorite restaurants. Number one is the Prohibition Kitchen. For tourists and locals alike go there. Also, I would say the Columbia restaurant and Harry's. Can't go wrong with any of those.
I think Alyssa and I are gonna go in and have a good time. We appreciate some of the tips, and thanks again for being with us today, Heather.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Alyssa and I proceeded through the gates and got our fill of St. George Street as we toured the old wooden schoolhouse, the Pirate and Treasure Museum, and the Shipwreck Museum. I even tried to get Alyssa to check out the Medieval Torture Museum, but she didn't seem interested for some reason.
No, I did not.
We also tried on some hats,
Yeah, of all the ones you could have picked, that's probably the worst.
checked out some swords, ate a gourmet popsicle,
That's citrusy. That's good.
visited the Cathedral Basilica, one of the oldest churches in the United States, and learned about exotic jerkies. Which of these was the most tempting for you? Kangaroo? Shark? Gator, perhaps?
How about none of the above?
The toughest decision by far was where to eat, as the options were plentiful. Some of the recommendations we considered included the Prohibition Kitchen, River and Fort, Harry's Seafood, and others. But we eventually landed on one of Heather's recommendations, the Columbia. The Columbia is Florida's oldest restaurant, as its original location was opened in 1905 by a Spanish-Cuban immigrant named Casimiro Hernandez and his family, who have now owned the restaurant for 5 generations running. The Columbia is centrally located along St. George Street and conveniently offers its guests sought-after parking to go along with its well-known Spanish and Cuban cuisine.
When we arrived for our reservation, the host seated us upstairs in one of the many dining rooms. There was excellent theming, a lot of Cuban and Spanish artwork, peaceful water features, and even statues throughout the restaurant. I started off with Columbia's famous original 1905 salad, as well as the gazpacho.
You're about to eat the Columbia's original 1905 salad. I wonder if that thing's been sitting in the fridge since 1905. Maybe not.
It's good.
Yeah, I know they made it fresh for us right in front of the table. I mean, they didn't grow it or nothing, but...
Can't take you anywhere.
As for my appetizers, I enjoyed this fresh, complimentary Cuban bread and some delicious empanadas. These things had just the right amount of spice.
As for my entree, I had the paella marinara, which included lobster tail, shrimp, scallops, clams, and calamari.
I think that pirate museum really rubbed off on you. If you got a treasure chest of booty there, my lady.
Seafood, you mean?
As for me, I went with the pollo manchego. That's fun to say, pollo manchego. A boneless chicken breast with Spanish cheeses, rices, and vegetables.
Very Spanish. Like it.
So after all that food, you still found room for dessert?
Of course, the dessert special for the night was this spectacular cobbler that I could not pass up.
Overall, the Columbia lived up to its reputation as one of Saint Augustine's top restaurants.
I definitely can see how the restaurant has lasted since 1905. Truly a remarkable culinary experience, if I do say so myself. When we come back on Property Tours, we'll head to the south side of downtown to discover what it's like to live on vacation at this charming late 1800s Victorian home, one of the first homes ever built along this side of St. George Street.
We're here in historic downtown St. Augustine, about to tour one of its most historic homes.
There's a lot of history in St. Augustine. Everywhere you look, something historic. You got the Castillo de San Marcos, you got the Flagler College, just history everywhere.
Sometimes it feels like you really stepped back in time.
If you had a time machine and you could step back in time, would this be a place you'd want to go back in time to?
No?
Why not?
Well, for one thing, there'd be no air conditioning.
No air conditioning. That's a fair point. I'm not sure who invented air conditioning, but here in Florida, you the real MVP.
Yep.
Located on the south side of downtown in an area known as Old City South, this Victorian property was built in the late 1800s, making it one of the first properties ever constructed on this side of historic St. George Street. Conveniently located between the numerous attractions downtown has to offer and the peaceful serenity around Maria Sanchez Lake, this community is ideal for anyone looking to live the St. Augustine lifestyle.
We're the Marcos family, and we've lived in Northeast Florida since the year 2000.
We're from the Indianapolis area, and we prefer the weather here, the history.
We live on historic St. George Street, within walking distance to a bunch of attractions.
We chose this particular house because it has a garage. And the first one that we looked at, I loved it, but it had no garage. So we're here.
We are at the Marquis residence, about to go explore their historic home.
This house was built in the late 1800s, has 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and is just under 2,900 square feet.
Let's go check it out.
All right.
Now this is a doorbell you don't see anymore.
I think that's original to the house.
Hi, come into our house, the Marquis house.
Thank
nice
you.
To meet you. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having us so much. It's a beautiful house.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
It was built between 1885 and 1894. It's a true Victorian house. And the reason I say it's a true Victorian house, because in a normal house, everything has its place. In a Victorian house, every place has a thing.
If it's my understanding, Rick, I believe this is one of the first homes built.
On South St. George Street, that is correct. This is my nautical room. 20 years in the Navy, and I used to race sailboats. So I built all the ship models, and there's like 11 of them in the house.
How long does it take you to build one of these ships?
I'm estimating that thing was 400 hours.
Wow. Well, next time we need a children's toy put together, we know who to call.
Hey, whenever there's Christmas, we get all the bicycles for me to assemble for all the neighborhood kids.
I gotta say, those shark teeth are just amazing. I mean, those things, it's gonna be like Megalodon teeth.
That is correct. The big ones are. That's what they are, which is extinct. We found those up in Fernandina and some of them down here. We like walking the beach.
These floors are beautiful, Kathy.
These floors are pine, and they're right up from the bottom of the water because some of them are from sunken vessels.
So they're shiplap.
They are.
Well, let's, can you show us this?
Sure, let's do it.
Our ships and these.
We really like this room. We own our living room. They built the walls in, put the windows in, and brought in new heart pine.
Well, it is nice having this much natural light coming in with the windows.
Oh, yeah. And we have paintings from local artists. Guess the dining room's next.
Dining room sounds good.
Lead the way. So this room is beautiful. Is this, was this green color here when you moved in?
It was. This is one of the colors that we really like is green.
What is this bench we're looking at right here?
It's an Hungarian wedding bench. The wedding couple would sit on the bench, and you can lift it up, and people, if they had brought gifts, they could put the gifts inside the bench.
Speaking of weddings, who are these dashing young people up on the wall over here?
They are us about 50 years ago. I am in my school teacher mode, and my husband is in his Navy pilot mode.
Wow.
Rick, you are one Navy stud.
Well, he was. Look at what he looks like today.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Let's go check out that kitchen. What do you think?
Sure.
Our kitchen, you can probably tell, is not very large. I feel like I'm on a ship in a galley, but in some respects it's easier.
Well, I noticed there was a kind of a butler's pantry off the main kitchen.
We use that for our china and other storage purposes.
So tell us about the old kitchen. I know that the original house the kitchen was not in this room.
So there's a little brick kitchen back there. Has no water, no electricity, but what it had was a wood-burning stove. And I wish that stove were there. I would have restored that room.
Well, I think we've made it full circle around the downstairs. So do you mind if we check out the upstairs?
Sure, let's go for it. This is a full 3-bedroom, 3-bath house. And one of the unique things about it is it has plenty of closet space.
Yeah.
Which is unusual for a house this age.
Wow, this bathroom is so cute.
Had to restore the tub, which weighs about 500 pounds.
I gotta tell you, I really sense the historic Saint Augustine charm as you go through the upstairs. Getting the sense this room here might be a little bit more of an add-on.
Well, it was an add-on. This is just, one of the 3 bedrooms up here. Works perfect for us. On the other side is the master bath, and she gets credit for that whole thing. Pedestal sinks extra wide or copies of the 20s. She coordinated all that stuff, and that to me is one of the best rooms in the house.
So which of those rooms in there was the primary before?
Well, the room that we walked through that had the computer in it, that was the maid's quarters. The bathroom, all the way to that end, that very small bathroom was her bathroom, and there was a staircase up the back of the house for the maid to come and go as she pleased. I mean, we're talking, this house isn't that far from the Civil War.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not. I mean, if the walls could talk, I'd be fascinated with what all went through here.
So the other 2 bedrooms that are now the guest rooms, they're connected by, I'm assuming, what used to be a sun porch and has now been closed in?
So I think that was an add-on, and it's a great room to go up and read, and, because it's all glass.
I think we've seen the whole house now. So what is your favorite part?
I get asked that a lot, and I can tell you my favorite part of the house is not the house. It's the neighbors. We're surrounded by some of the greatest people we've ever met in our lives. They've been there for us through thick and thin, and we've just been blessed to know these people.
What is it like living in this historic Saint Augustine? It's such a tourist attraction.
We can walk anywhere and we can be any place we want to be. One of our favorite things is the horse and buggies. But you learn a lot after you're in a certain area, where to go, when to go.
As a local, what are some of your favorite attractions?
There's so many of them. I mean, the Lighthouse, Fountain of Youth, Lightner Museum.
Rick and Kathy, we just thank you guys so much for having us at your home today and teaching us a little bit more about historic St. Augustine.
And it's been a pleasure for us too.
Now it's time to take a quick look at the real estate market in historic downtown St. Augustine. Properties in historic downtown St. Augustine sold for an average of $756,000 over the past year, which is actually down almost 4% from the previous year when the average was $786,000, but up just over 100% from a decade ago when the average was $377,000. Currently, there are 67 listings in downtown St. Augustine, ranging in price from $375,000 to $4.8 million. Thanks for joining us in Northeast Florida today. Be sure to tune in next week for our season finale, where Alyssa and I revisit our favorite moments from Season 2. For further market information or to rewatch any of our episodes, check out our website, HammondFamilyGroup.com.
With this fine device, you just place your soon-to-be butter inside the body here through the trapdoor on top. Then you simply place your child on top, and now you can rock them to sleep while your butter is churned. And I should mention, this product does a fine job of building character for the child, as of course, after being raised on this, they're not going to be scared of anything else but this.